listening to Two Babies in a Business, a podcast about business, marketing, growth, strategy, staff, clients, babies, and marriage. I'm Christina. This is Peter. We're founders and leaders of CIPR Communications. And this is our final kind of step in your marketing budget. That's what we're talking about today. I like to...
I was going to say final episode on the topic of marketing budgets, which is exciting. And
it is. Yeah, we have a bonus episode obviously coming at listeners too, so stay tuned for that. But this one, I think I like to equate this one to parenting a little bit, and it's like the hidden expenses. Right. So like within your marketing budget, you have this nice marketing budget made. You've thought about your big projects, your tactics, your staff, your agency. But there's these like hidden fees. So it's like the same as kids, right? I was talking to you the other day about like, oh, I got to buy more school pants. Like we budget at the beginning of the year, our kids wear a uniform to school. And so you like budget at the beginning of September for, okay, this is all the clothes we're going to need for the year. And like our kids have been rough on their pants specifically.
And have grown as of late. Yeah.
And have grown. And so it's like, all of a sudden it's, halfway through the school year, here's this hidden expense of, I got to go buy a couple more pairs of these uniform pants because we got some holes that we're dealing with. But right. Like, or when you become a new parent, there's all these extra things with babies that you don't really account for. We told your cousin Marta, who's expecting, start buying diapers now, right? Like just like every time you go to Costco, buy diapers now so they don't, start to creep up and become those little hidden expenses you don't consider. But anyways, that's how I like to think about this category, because there's always something. And I think you need to be nimble enough to cover those expenses.
Well, and we were just talking about this actually with Brad from our team about even just like the world is changing. Like the world in PR is literally like falling apart right under our feet in real time. Like the media world is just like shrinking. There's all kinds of stuff going on. And so, in the media world, like we're just talking about how we can reposition public relations better to kind of help manage people's expectations better. But like, there are likely, if you're going to be doing PR in 2021, you're going to be paying somebody somewhere for some budgets to have your article written or pushed further, maybe through an influencer, maybe through a advertorial or whatever, because that world has just disappeared. Same thing on the social media side. I mean, I don't think that you can do social media in 2021 without having some kind of advertising and sponsorship budget on top of everything you're doing, because those channels just don't go far organically anymore, right? I think about websites, and we talked about this a little bit. It's like, it doesn't matter what platform you're on from a website perspective, there's going to be some kind of website maintenance budget or tools budget or like keeping plugins up to date budget or backup budget that you should be thinking about. So, you don't just build a website and then it's sort of good. There's always maintenance involved of some kind, right? But probably in my mind, the biggest kind of expense that people don't really appreciate and aren't aware of is just the expense of your own time or your staff time to kind of maintain things like tools, or to like make sure tools are actually working for you, or the time it takes. Like when you hire an agency, it's like I always try to be upfront about this. It's like, just because you hire an agency doesn't mean you're not going to spend any time thinking about or working on your marketing strategy and plan, because there's always work to do. Like, so the agency, does their thing and then needs you to kind of do something with that and approve it or edit it or whatever, right? Like it's not, we give it to you and it's 100% ready to go and off you go, right? It's like, it's an iterative and collaborative process. So, those are just some high level thoughts and examples about, kind of tools and costs that are probably not as explicit as, you hire, here's $5,000 for a PPC budget. But like, how much time does it take for your staff to be working with the PPC team to review and to ensure it's working and those types of things?
Yeah. And I think for me, it's like the setup fees. And I think, they're unavoidable. And so if you're working with an agency, or if you're working on a new tool, like I actually was looking through SharpSpring, which is a email automation marketing tool. and their first month is more expensive than their monthly fee, but you have to look and see that. But that first month includes some really great training and all sorts of things. But, you know, if you're running your budget and you're just picking tools and you go, okay, well, we know this is $100 a month. Well, actually, remember there's a setup fee. Or, you know, in terms of a PPC campaign, obviously there's a setup fee, not just associated with the monthly ad budget, right? So I think those are the things I would remind people of. And I think sometimes it's easy to go, ugh, why am I having to pay this setup fee or whatever it is? But kind of to our point in the last episode about the importance of metrics and reviewing and understanding where your money's going and your return on investment. If you're not spending, whether it's time, like you said, Peter, or money to set it up properly and well, you are never going to really have the full line of sight if that tactic is performing the way it needs to or not. So, you know, as you're building those budgets out, make sure you're keeping a few $100s aside from a setup perspective, especially if you've never done some of these things before. If you've never run a PPC campaign or an SEO campaign, we take on clients like that, and they don't even have Google Analytics set up. So you're kind of starting from really just the bare minimum of, okay, let's make sure that your Google My Business listing is up, and it takes time. And that might be time on the agency side and covering their costs, or it could be time internally, kind of getting your things up to snuff.
I got a good one. Good one. You're going to love this one. Just on this kind of concept and thought around setup, it's like gaining access to your assets, and making sure you have passwords, and making sure you understand who gets, like, if a password reset goes to somebody's text message. This is often, and I'm not even lying, like this is like probably the biggest pain as an agency, but it's also a pain for our clients, and it sucks because it's like, here you go, you got this great idea, you know, we're going to go forward with this and it's going to be fantastic. And then you spend like literally 2 months trying to track down who the hell's phone number is this all this going to? Maybe it was you know, Bart, who worked with us 5 years ago and set this up. Like a lot of companies, surprisingly, you know, different people set different things up on their social media, on their analytics, on all these different, you know, places. And then the company never kind of gained control of those things, and they have no idea who has access to these things. And sometimes it's like painful because it's like an employee that maybe left on bad terms or whatever. And so there's like even potentially a time of like working with Facebook to like kind of get control over your asset again. There's a massive cost in there from a time perspective, and it's probably one of the most painful things, you know, us as an agency has to go through with a client. And it sucks because it's like you really want to just get going, and then you're just like totally like sidetracked by this thing, right?
What's nice though is like it's often a good exercise in wrapping your arms around all that stuff. So especially if you're a marketing manager and you know there's been some legacy issues or password spreadsheets that haven't been updated in 3 or 4 years. It, as much as it is frustrating, and we've gone through, you know, even on the agency side, okay, you worked with this agency 4 years ago, and now it's some project manager that doesn't even work at that agency anymore and is 3 careers removed. And like, it is a hunt, but what's nice about that setup process is the peace of mind you'll have at the end of the day, because you'll be on top of all of that now. And you can think of our friends at Alberta Ballet School. We went through something similar with them a few years back, and now it's never a question, right? Like they know where everything is. We've helped them kind of understand who has access to things, and it took a while, but now they're organized. So, you know, there's return on investment even in those little kind of hidden expenses that you might not be expecting.
The other thing I'll say too is that, like, you know, the cost of things go up. And so you need to, I think, be prepared for having some contingencies for, you know, if you are invested in a tool and you have, you know, a whole bunch of time invested into that tool, and all of a sudden they raise their prices. Well, I mean, the cost to change to a new tool is probably greater than just sort of sticking with the tool you have and paying the higher fees, right? So, I mean, the cost of ads on Google go up over time. The cost of ads on Facebook go up over time, right? Like the marketing costs in general in terms of like ad costs, probably go up over time. So, I think it's wise if you have marketing that's working for you to add some inflationary budgets, or have some, kind of money on the side for, if the cost of things go up, but it's still a good return on investment for you. You need to be prepared for that, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't get cheaper.
No, the other hidden cost that I say comes up in conversations a lot, especially when we're building a website, is content related costs. And I don't
Yes.
mean writing, I mean photography and videography. So think about that. I think that's something people usually glaze over. But if you have a new product, or if new staff or new facilities, or have no pictures at all,
Yeah.
probably you need to think about, do I need professional photography? Am I in a space where stock photography would work?
Yeah, that's a
all
big one.
those all those questions, but like stock photography has a fee.
It's expensive, actually.
It's expensive, but when you're working with an agency, also a good question to ask them, hey, does this package I'm going into with you include stock images?
Yeah.
How many? What does that look like? How do you deal with that? Or, making a budget line item for, we're going to spend $500 on new headshots this year because we need them for the website and marketing materials, or we're going to spend $1,000 on product shots. So I feel like that photography question is always one that, like, hey, so like what pictures are we putting on this new marketing brochure you want us to make?
Pictures.
Or like your social media content. Kaylin's ears are probably burning right now for the number of times she's like asked clients, like, okay, like great, now I need photos. And your social content is obviously only as good as the assets that you have in control. So that's when I would highlight, like, don't let that be a surprise to you. Make sure that you're thinking about that as a piece of your marketing budget too.
Yeah. And it's the same thing on the PR side. I mean, like if you send a press release out with a good video, it's going to do so much better than, sending something out with no photo and no video, right? So, I mean, obviously the better multimedia assets you have, the better it will work for all of your marketing channels. But that's certainly sort of an added expense that I think a lot of companies aren't necessarily always thinking about. So that's definitely a good one.
Yeah. And I would say the last one I've seen, especially come up as of late, are like our tools with like incremental additions to the cost.
Yes.
So, and I've talked about this before, especially email marketing tools, MailChimp, kind of the most basic, I think it like, I don't know the prices offhand, but $15 a month, you can get X, Y, and Z. But if your list is over 2,000 people, you're actually paying more. And if you want to send more than that emails, you're actually sending more. So don't be the marketing manager that gets approval for the $15 a month tool. And then when you send your first email, realize that it's actually a $65 a month per month tool. So don't get caught in that. I think my biggest suggestion in terms of adopting a new tool, especially if you're not aware of it, just set up a demo. Like all of those sites have free demos. Just talk to someone and get them to like lay the land for you. Or if you're working with an agency, ask them to lay the land for you, because they should kind of understand and know those cost differences.
Yeah.
But that's always
those are big ones. And those add up fast. Like you could be in and we've been, looking at different tools where it's like, literally, it's like, it jumps from $0 to $50 a month to $1,000 a month US, right? It's like, that's a massive jump for like, one little feature that you need. And so it's like, really, we decided not to go with a particular tool recently because, the one feature we're actually looking for jumps from 50 US to 1,000 US a month. And it's like, no. So like, do we really need that feature, or is there a different tool that can do that same feature for less money? Because it's just that one feature. And like in the case of this particular tool, for that extra 950 US a month, it does 50 other amazing things, but like we have no intention of doing any of them. So like, it's not worth it, right?
Peter, what would you say like is a fair amount per month? Like if someone is like creating their marketing spreadsheet with their budget, like what is that contingency? What's that dollar amount that they should throw in that is?
I would say if you can have a $250 a month contingency in your budget, that probably will kind of cover you on an average basis. Like you might have one big unexpected thing here or whatever, or you might have a bunch of little ones, just depending on how robust your program is. But that would be a nice, healthy contingency budget, I think.
Yeah, I like that too. You think about like the little website edits that might come up that you don't know how to do in-house, or potentially are a little bit outside of scope from your regular web maintenance kind of
Yeah.
budget. Then you have like, small hourly fee there. Or
Yeah.
yeah, I like that amount.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, there you have it. Marketing budgets.
Yeah.
So
Well, hey,
hopefully at the end of this, you have your big spreadsheet, and at least the components. And of course, if anyone out there wants to talk more about their budget, you and I are always available and open to that. So just shoot us a message. But yeah, it's something that's always evolving. But I'm excited that we were able to give folks kind of the 12-step program. And our bonus episode next time will maybe give you a 13th thing to think about. But I don't think that's a bad thing.
yeah. And if you're liking the podcast, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. It would mean a lot to us.